This video is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Hey guys, Maven here. 15 years ago today, the wrestling world lost one of its best. I knew him as Andrew. You knew him as Test. Andrew Test Martin. Take a ride with me while I talk all about how our relationship began contentious with him hating me, how we were able to quickly become friends, and where I was at and how I found out all about his passing. Quick disclaimer, 100% of today's video ad and sponsorship BetterHelp revenue will go towards Cauliflower Alley, a nonprofit organization that helps former pro wrestlers with medical expenses. We are happy to donate 100% of the revenue of this video to them in Test's name. I met Test, and for this video I'm going to call him Test, not Andrew like he would want me to call him. I met him quickly after I won Tough Enough. It was back when, right when WWE and WWF at the time was still running Raw and SmackDown with all the talent. Test, if I say he was an intimidating figure, that does not do it justice. And of course, everyone knows about his size. 6'5", probably 260, 270, and 270 pounds of just muscle. But that's not why he was intimidating. Test was intimidating because of his persona, his aura. He had his group of friends in the locker room. He was really good friends with Christian, with Jay, and you know they would laugh and they would cut up and kid, but I was not in that. I was not in that group at that time. I would say hi and extend my hand, and he would shake my hand, but I wasn't getting the smiles. I wasn't getting the laughing. I wasn't getting the joking, jovial side of Test that others would get. He would see me, and he would, hey, Maeve, he'd stick his hand out, and that was the end of it. There was no how you doing. There was no, what's it like? How's your transition to the world of wrestling going? Nah, there was none of that. But our paths would cross very early in my career, and give him a reason, a full-fledged, just absolute reason to hate me. And it wasn't something I could really argue with. Now, I'm going to share that reason in just a second, but first I want to talk about today's video sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp makes starting therapy much easier and far less intimidating. They can match you with one of over 30,000 therapists based on your needs, preferences, and your location. How it works is you're going to start off answering a questionnaire, and BetterHelp's going to find out what needs you would like addressed and what it is that challenges you. From there, BetterHelp's going to find you a therapist, someone that's going to help, someone that's matched specifically to you and your needs. In most cases, BetterHelp will find a therapist in as little as 48 hours, and you can schedule a therapy session most convenient for you. And if you don't feel like your therapist is the right fit, you can switch with the click of a button at no additional cost. If you use my link in the description, betterhelp.com/Maven, today you're going to save 10%. And again, the proceeds from this video and today's sponsor, BetterHelp, are going to a great cause. So join in with the over 4 million people who have utilized BetterHelp and are living a healthier, happier life. And once again, make sure you're using my link, betterhelp.com/Maven, and save yourself 10%. Now here's the reason that Test hated my guts. And again, he had every right to. In the wrestling business, the one thing that you never mess with is someone's money. Their ability to put food on their table, their ability to pay their bills. That's the one no-go area. Right before WrestleMania 18, I was messing with Test's ability to make money. Being that it was right after Tough Enough, being that it was after the Royal Rumble and my elimination of The Undertaker, being that they were obviously trying to just promote Tough Enough. They wanted to give me as much of a push as possible. And where is there a better place to do that? Well, WrestleMania, of course. A few weeks leading into WrestleMania, I get approached, and that's when they informed me. And by a few weeks, I mean like 2 weeks prior to the show. And they told me, you have a match in Mania. When they told me this, It's almost like the culmination of every dream I had as a kid was coming to light. I was truly on top of the world. I didn't realize, though, that there was collateral damage from that, because when someone goes in, that means someone has to go out. And I would find out very quickly that that person that was going out, that person that was losing their spot in WrestleMania was Test. And I didn't find out, you know, because someone told me. I found out because Test told me. Test was, you know, he wasn't bashful about it. He wasn't shy about it. You know, he got, you know, saw me in the locker room and pretty much said, "Yeah, you're wrestling in the spot that I was supposed to be in. That was the match that I was supposed to wrestle in." And again, everyone in that company wants a spot on that show. WrestleMania is our Super Bowl. WrestleMania is what you are in that business for. He obviously knew the money he was losing out on, and yeah, it's money that he would never get back. He wasn't rude about it, but he just made it known. He wanted me to know I was the reason he wasn't going to be on that show, and he also wanted me to know that he was not pleased about it. But my hands were tied. What was I supposed to do? I did want the position, but it's not like I'm going to go to the office and be like, "No, Test deserves to be on the show." I mean, they would have been like, "Well, hell, get out of here, kid. You don't want to be here if that's that's your stance anyway." Mania came and went, and you know, Test and I's relationship I'm not gonna say it was bad, but I can't say it was necessarily good. It was just what it was. We would speak in passing, but we never found ourselves out in the same restaurant. We never found ourselves out on the road together. We literally had as minimal of a relationship as possible. A year or two after the pain of missing out on WrestleMania 18, once that washes off, then you're open to just befriending someone. So little by little, I would notice that we're starting to communicate more and more backstage. Starting to talk more about just getting to know each other, starting to learn each other. He would start to tell me where he was from, and just the differences of life in Canada as opposed to life in the States. So right around the time that he and I are starting to be a little bit more cordial with each other, and dare I say even becoming friends, or at least friendly, in 2004 he gets released. We weren't on the relationship where we'd be calling each other or checking in with each other. That would come later. And the next following year, I would find myself in the exact same position as Test. Our friendship started taking off more once we were out of the WWE and actually on the indies. There was a show 30 minutes from my hometown in Waynesboro, Virginia, and I was put on the show last minute, but Test was one of the headliners. I didn't know he was going to be on it. He did not know I was going to be on it, but that's where our paths would come together again. We actually were able to work each other on a show in Boston I believe it was in 2007, and he actually tried to have my back. I was booked to do an event in San Francisco. The booker wanted Test on it as well. I tried to talk him into it, and he told me, he said, "Maven, don't do it unless the guy gives you an advance on your payment." I was like, what the hell are you talking about? It's going to be fine, of course. Why would he not pay us? And he told me, he was like, be careful. I go out, I did the entire weekend, and when it came to get paid, there was no promoter there. So I went back hat in hand and told him that, "Andrew, you're right. You got beat me. You got beat me fair and square." Our friendship would steadily progress, and in 2008, I found myself about to move down to the Tampa area. Test at the time lived in a really nice area called Channelside, and when I got hired by the Home Shopping Network, I immediately told him, knowing he lived there, that I'd be moving to the area. He said, "Mave, If you need a place to stay, let me know. And I told him, well, Tess, this is a real company. They're putting me up. They're putting me up in housing for 5 months, but let's definitely hang out. We would find ourselves hanging out my second day there, and this is when we would really start to bond over, we both had a love for movies. He and I, and to this day, he is the only person I have ever went to a movie with and walked out of the movie 15 minutes into it. We would go out to eat quite a bit, and what was funny about it is wrestling would rarely come up, but I did make sure I asked him, and he did not lie about it, because I asked him once. I was like, remember the whole WrestleMania 18 situation? And he was like, yep. And I was like, you hated me there for a while, didn't you? And he was like, yep. He did not pull any punches, and that's what made Andrew one of the best guys, because he was a straight shooter. He was gonna give you his full, just whatever was on his mind, whatever he was thinking. But that unfiltered version of Test could have possibly been what hindered his growth in the WWE. He didn't treat me, or he didn't treat anybody any different. He was going to speak his mind. He was going to tell someone. And I remember we went to a boxing match. We went to an Antonio Tarver boxing match. And I remember asking him, what is it that, because by all stretch of the imagination, you had a great career, but I always thought he could have been a top main event guy for years to come. And I asked him at this boxing match, because I felt comfortable with, I could ask him whatever. I said, why the hell are you here with me and not on the road, not, headlining pay-per-views? And he told me, he was like, I was gonna, if I didn't like something, I was gonna tell Vince. And I wasn't gonna stop at people under Vince. I was gonna go directly to the old man. If I didn't like the way my character was going, if I didn't like the way they were developing me, or if they gave me something that I didn't feel comfortable with, I wasn't gonna do it. He was unfiltered. And sometimes in the WWE, you gotta eat a shit sandwich and act like you like the taste of it. And he wasn't going to do that under no circumstances. He wasn't. That's just not how he was built. Now it's time to talk about one of the by far one of the worst days of my life. The day I found out about his passing. I had spent the afternoon going out to eat with him about 4 days prior to hearing the news, and I actually went on a cruise, and while I was out at sea, I wasn't obviously, getting reports. This was back before cell phones working while you were, out at sea, and I still remember as we were, coming into port, my phone started lighting up, and it was just message after message after message, and it was just odd. I'd been on like a 4-day cruise, and to have 18 voicemails and 200 text messages was, I knew it wasn't good news. And I still remember somebody leaving me a voice message asking me, "Did you hear about Test?" And I just was like, no, I hear about it. No, I don't. What is there to hear? And what really upsets me about everything is that he passed alone, and he passed, and it took a while for him to even discover. And I just hate thinking that he was by himself. And yeah, that's been one that that's been one that's always bothered me. I hate the thought that someone so young, in his early 30s, with so much to offer, so talented, and man, such a true individual, just solid, rock solid guy. I hate that he was gone.
and others would be affected, you know, even greater than I. A few months following his passing, I got a message from Christian, and he was putting together a tribute dinner for him, where just some guys could get together and, you know, just pay honor, and, you know, not even deal with the wrestling aspect of it, but just deal with the human side of it. Just tell stories about Andrew, and just laugh, because once you got to know him, he was one of the funniest dudes ever. The guy was literally hilarious. Now, losing a friend is always hard, but it always bothered me, and I always wondered why the WWE never paid tribute, at least at the beginning of the show, to Test, someone that gave a lot to the business, and someone that might not be remembered today, you know, by the fans as well as he should have been. I always questioned why they never gave him his due. So the point of today's video wasn't meant to be somber, not meant to be sad. It was to pay tribute to one of WWE's best big men of all time and show his human side. Test, my friend, I hope you're resting well.